What makes Vittorio De Sica's 1948 film Bicycle Thieves such a raw, human and emotional tale? A lot of it lies within the particular style of the film, its themes and the moral issues that it explores, and through the specific historical context of when it was made. Released following the end of World War II and after the dismantling of Italian and German fascism, The Bicycle Thieves is often seen as one of the defining films of the Italian neo-realism movement of cinema, and it encompasses many of the defining characteristics that separated European art cinema from more classical Hollywood storytelling practices. The birth and meaning of the phrase art cinema has often been debated over the course of the 19th century, as a multitude of diverse films from around the world have been given this label over the years. However, whilst these films were labelled under the art cinema banner, more distinct subgenres and movements were born in a multitude of countries from the 1920s to the early 1960s, with different countries utilising film to convey a variety of personal stories and meanings from specific moments of history. Some of these included the movements of German Expressionism during the end of the 1910s, the previously mentioned movement of Italian neo-realism during the 1940s, and the movement of French New Wave in the 1950s. There are several defining characteristics that separate European art cinema from classical Hollywood cinema. These characteristics include films having less of a strict narrative structure, focusing more on free-flowing and drifting episodic tales with aimless protagonists, dead time, which would often focus on the world and environment around the primary story and characters, and a priority on both cinematic style and image, rather than narrative exposition. Now let's take a look at some of the scenes from Bicycle Thieves that illustrate these characteristics, as well as the movement of Italian neo-realism. Perhaps one of the most immediately noticeable elements of Bicycle Thieves is its usage of long, documentary-like tracking shots, which often tend to drift away from our protagonists when they leave the frame, focusing on the world around them. Aligning with the European art cinema characteristic of exploring dead time and drifting through the world, De Sica purposefully chooses throughout the film to let us sit and ponder for a moment, to truly immerse and ground ourselves in both the setting and the period of social and cultural upheaval occurring within Italy during the late 1940s. Now, in a scene 8 minutes and 18 seconds into the film, Antonio and his wife Maria have just sold their sheets in a warehouse in order to have enough money to purchase a bicycle for Antonio's new job. De Sica lingers on a shot of two men in the warehouse, one selecting the bike and the other putting away the sheets up a ladder. Now for 20 seconds the camera lingers and tracks the man slowly walking through the warehouse, walking up the ladder and carefully placing the linen sheets up on a shelf above, with only one cut throughout to show Antonio watching the man carefully. This closely aligns with Noel Smith's description of Italian neo-realism, who describes the movement as having a commitment to the representation of human reality, often with shots filmed on location both inside and out, and through the usage of non-professional actors. These elements, combined with dubbed audio, long-held deep focus shots, a keen attention to detail and visual authenticity, and honest focus on everyday life, further evoke the stylistic characteristics of European art cinema. Another element of Italian neo-realism that the film expertly conveys is the humanist portrayal of the struggles of poverty and the struggles of everyday life. Situations throughout the film are often painted in a flinchingly lifelike and realistic way, with no conveniences or happy endings arriving for the characters after they have faced hardships. There are a number of scenes from the film that particularly exemplify these characteristics. One shows Antonio and Bruno searching for his bike in the pouring rain and freezing cold, their lack of an umbrella and the terrible conditions serving as a visual metaphor for their lower socio-economic status. In another particularly memorable scene, Antonio and Bruno decide to take a break from searching for the bike, stopping at a fancy restaurant to get some lunch and some wine. As they sit in the restaurant, Bruno begins to stare at a wealthy family and a boy who are having a lavish feast nearby. De Sica expertly compares and contrasts the two families by cutting between them and showing their differences, showing Bruno's poor table manners and his struggle to properly use his cutlery, then showing the wealthy boy on the other table eating properly and looking at Bruno with a dismissive and a derogatory look. The final scene of the film is perhaps the culmination of these themes, with heavily conflicted Antonio deciding to steal a bike, only for this plan to backfire immediately, with the owner and onlookers catching him, devastating his son Bruno in the process, De Sica forever solidifying the endless cycle of poverty that our protagonists are stuck in. In conclusion, Vittorio De Sica's 1948 film Bicycle Thieves is a timeless example of both the Italian neo-realism movement of films from the 1940s, and it demonstrates many of the core pillars of European art cinema. Bicycle Thieves helped lay the groundwork for future European and American art house films through breaking typical conventions and norms because of its unique setting, and because it was made in a very specific moment of time during radical cultural and social changes.